the meeting, but once everybody's here, could I get a feel for who's here? I'm the Director of Long-Term Care Services for Northeast Georgia Medical Center, and want to be part of these meetings.
Jerry Speed here.
Shan Lewis and Lynn Smith.
Charles Bednar, Christian Alton.
Gary Smith, Administrator at New Horizons, Lanier Park.
What happened? Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. This is Jenny Northcutt. Who's facilitating the call today? This is Jerry Speed. I think some of us are on this call, but others have been either cut off or there's two separate things happening. Hello? This is Debbie Atkins. I just know we have a lot of people on the call today, and we're just trying to find out who's facilitating so we can kind of do a roll call. Is Mr. Fentner on yet? He was.
Must have dropped.
In his office. You there, Mr. Fentner? He must have dropped. I hear him dialing back in. So, who is on from Lookout Mountain?
Michael, free.
Shan Lewis, Lynn Smith.
GAO, Jerry Speed. Joe's family,
Margaret Hawkins.
Miss Margaret. And this is Debbie Atkins. Is that you, Mr. Fentner?
Yeah.
Mr. Fentner from the regional office. Is there anyone from Northeast Georgia?
Yes, I'm Henry Roberts. I'm the Director of Long-Term Care Services, and also Kerry Smith is on the line. He's the Administrator of New Horizons Lanier Park, where Joseph is currently residing.
Adam Rawlerson.
Hey, Adam.
Hey,
What is Adam's position?
I work over here at Laurelwood, Henry.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Adam.
He's been on because he's been a consult most of the way through just for the mental health. Okay, Mr. Fentner, I just took roll call.
Now you missed benchmark.
Oops, sorry. I don't have my notes in front of me. Okay, Benchmark, who's on?
This is Joe Darling. We also have Michael Frank, Christy Phillips, Jessica Johnson, Jessica Speed, Belinda Rowan, Laney Park, and Nate Davis.
Wow.
Y'all have the team.
We're benchmark. What about Lookout Mountain?
Lookout Mountain has Michael, Jan, and Lynn on. And then Jerry is on from GAO, and Miss Margaret's on as a family member. And Jenny Northcutt. And Jenny.
So let's turn it over to Michael. Lookout Mountain. Give us an update, and I'd like an update on his health from the nursing home, and what support services Benchmark is providing, if any. So, Michael.
Well, we are continuing to look for some property. We've met with the owner of the property in Chattooga County that we were looking at, and that happened on Friday afternoon. There are some extensive renovations that will have to be made to that property, and so at this point we're going to have to decide whether or not how those renovations are going to be paid for, and if we're going to be able to secure a license if those renovations are completed. So there's quite a bit that will have to be done to that property to even possibly bring it into compliance with a CLA license. So at the same time, we're looking at that as an option. We're also going to be pursuing some other community options that we haven't been able to look at yet.
Do you have any realistic options on the board?
Well, there's another piece of property in our, I believe, up in Catoosa County. Jan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, up in the northern part of our service area that might be a possibility. We just became aware of that property on Friday or late last week. We haven't had a chance to look at that property yet. We're not saying that the property in Chattooga County is not going to be a possibility, but it is going to be, quite extensive. They'll have to build a new bathroom onto the property that Joe can access. All the doors will have to be widened to bring it into compliance with handicap accessibility to meet the CLA license. There's quite a bit of work that would have to be done on that property.
Ms. Margaret,
Yes,
Charles Fedner in the regional office. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. It's our goal to get an appropriate residential setting as close to you and other family members as possible, but finding appropriate real estate up in that part of the state is going to be a challenge. Just how much geography would you be willing for us to look for a home in? In other words, what's the greatest distance from your house that you drew a circle you would want us to limit our look for a house to?
Well, around Chickamauga, Georgia, or Fort Oglethorpe.
Okay.
So we're talking about 20 miles, Ms. Hawkins?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe. 10 to 20 miles.
Now you realize that the broader the mileage, the more options we have.
Yes.
Okay. So Michael, can you make sure that whoever's looking at least is covering that much territory?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And I'm sorry I forgot the name of the administrator of the facility. Could you give us an update on how Joe's doing?
Yes, sir. My name's Terry Smith, and I'm the administrator at New Horizons Linear Park. From a health perspective, Mr. Young's doing fine. He's been with us now for a couple of weeks. And we do have a sitter. We're paying sitters to stay with him 24/7. Mostly related to his impulsive behaviors. But as far as from a health perspective, he's doing good, doing great.
What kind of activities do y'all provide for him?
The one-on-one sitter does a lot with him as far as cards. He's liked his radio, and we're learning him as to what he likes to do. We've learned that if he's in a large group activity, he becomes a little too stimulated, can become agitated from that. We try to do more of the one-on-one with the sitter, spending time with him. And really with that is whatever Mr. Young would like to do, the sitter goes with him. And we do, whether it's reading the paper to him, with him, doing cards, really whatever he'd like to do.
Joe, with Benchmark, are y'all able to provide anything, or is it at this point, is the nursing home asked for any assistance?
Actually, we're just kind of showing up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with either a direct support professional, social worker, or behavior analyst to check in to maintain, to make sure they are able to get their questions answered for Joe on how to deal with behavioral issues. And with the main purpose of being, should there be any behavioral deterioration, we can catch it there and maintain him at the nursing home so he doesn't have to go back to Laurel. Unless he absolutely needs to, if that's appropriate. And actually, Nate went out today. Nate, are you there?
Yes.
Can you give us an update for today?
Jojo slept most of the time I was there, and he didn't engage in any target behaviors. They said he was up throughout the night, and they pushed him around in a wheelchair. He ate breakfast this morning and then slept from about 7:30 a.m. until 12 p.m. today. That's when he got up. He was pretty compliant with me from the time that I was there.
Okay, great. Christy, what were your observations from Friday?
When I was there on Friday, he was in the break room having coffee with the person that was sitting with him, and he was nice and calm. We talked a little bit about his mom's visit. He was happy to have seen his mom, and the staff had said that he did have an incident the day before, so that would have been Thursday, where it was over a cup, and he had hit out at a staff member there and at a resident, but that he had been calm since then, and they hadn't had any other issues with him since that time. So I just talked with her a little bit about his behaviors and about in the past what has been precursor to his acting out behaviors like that. But we had a good conversation.
Okay, great. Mr. Smith, if you need anything to help support Joe behaviorally, please let us know, and we'll continue to come out as long as you just throw us out. But we want to stay involved with Joe while he's there.
Okay, I definitely will. And like I said, we're learning him. He's been here for a few weeks. He's very impulsive. I'm sure you guys know him a lot better than I do. So, as she was saying, everything's fine for most of the day, most of the night. It's every so often something will trigger where he will swing out. He'll attempt to hit somebody. He will hit somebody. And then just immediately it's back to Mr. Young is fine and happy. So, and with the 24-hour sitters that we're having, we're trying to ensure that there's not going to be any conflict with other residents during that time period. So, but I'll reach out to you guys if we need anything at all.
Okay, great. Yeah, Joe's typical pattern is 99.9% of the time he's fine, he's happy, and then there's a brief moment here and there is what we've observed.
Joe, when your staff goes out and does the consultation, do they have a staff contact to relate their observations and recommendations to, or how does it coordinate?
We haven't actually nailed that down to who our main contact person there is. We just learned last week on the call that he was there, so we set it up to where we get people out there on a regular basis. Who would be the best contact person for the Benchmark staff to touch base with?
The social worker is Chris Hill.
Chris Hill?
Chris Hill.
Could I say something?
Sure, ma'am.
I'm familiar quite a bit with people in the Trine area. And Joe's dad, since he's still living, he used to be a carpenter and everything. Is it a possibility that we could have a look at the house for renovation that they were talking about?
For what purpose, Miss Hawkins?
I would just like to see, just about how much work it would take to renovate the house.
Well, the main thing that's going to be needed is that the current bathroom is not handicap accessible.
Yes, I
So
understand that.
they're going to have to build a new addition onto the house, where there is the capability of that being a walk-in shower, where a wheelchair can be rolled in if necessary. That's the main thing. There's also got to be wheelchair ramps built at two entrances to the facility to bring that into compliance. And like I say, all the doors throughout the house have to be widened to meet the minimum standards required by the license that we're seeking. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. The owner of the home's brother is a contractor, so it's not a issue of getting the work done. The main part is going to be the financial end of this, and if there's not a commitment from us to rent the facility, then that could prevent the home from being renovated. And the issue we have to deal with is if the renovations are made, we don't have any guarantee that the state will license the facility as needed. So we've got to do a little bit further research with that and have some conversations with the landlord in order for us to be able to make that commitment to them. We have to be assured that we're going to be able to get the home licensed if we commit to these renovations. Because it's quite an expense for us to do this. We just got the information after work on Friday, and we just haven't had time as a team to thoroughly look through this and then talk back with the landlord to explore those options. So because of the expense, we're going to look and see if we can't find another facility that might not need as much renovation as this place does.
This is Adam at Laurelwood. Just a question, the licensing process, how long is that process?
It depends. I mean, usually I think between 30 and 60 days.
And you wouldn't be able to apply for that license or have them, you wouldn't start that process until you had already made the renovations to this
Well,
one property?
once we apply, then they're going to send someone out to look at the facility, so everything would have to be completed before they could grant the license.
That's a pretty major renovation you're talking about, too.
Yeah.
And that would push us way beyond the 3-month projection that was originally talked about, correct?
I would think so.
I have a question about the staffing. Is that also delayed until a location is
Well, we can't bring anyone on and start paying them without us being able to move forward. So we have applications, but
okay?
It doesn't make good sense. I mean, we have nothing for them to do other than train them.
Right, but I was just interested if there had been applications, if the jobs
Yeah.
have been posted.
The jobs have been posted, and we have
And I imagine
plenty of applications.
I imagine the training can't start until the house is not only confirmed but license has come through, correct?
Well, sure, because if we change locations, we're not for sure that the staff who have applied would be able to work in a different location from which we have advertised. So, I mean, we're looking, like I say, if we're going to look in a 20-mile radius of Lafayette, that could be almost a 40-mile trip for someone or longer to come to work. So, unfortunately, these are the challenges that we face in trying to find a community placement for Joe.
All right, so this is like a perfect storm where, I mean, we're looking at a really long time. I guess my question would be, Ms. Hawkins, this Adamant Laurelwood, we've talked several times, is it any way possible to look at a broader geographical location? Because I hear the challenges that we're looking at, and I'm thinking this time next year we're going to be having the same conversation, still looking for a place. That's my fear. And I'm not faulting anybody, I'm just saying that's the reality of what I'm hearing.
Well, like I said before, I want him as close to his family and to me as his mama as I can get, because Joe does so much better, and it was very difficult for me when he was in the hospital and he was so close to death, and it was difficult for Joe. I know he felt abandoned, I know he felt lost, and I know he was very lonely. And I know he cried a lot. And I know he cries when he can't get to see his family or his mother, especially his mother.
Now, Ms. Hawkins, when he was in the facility in Rome, you were able to visit periodically.
I visited him
Would
quite
that be too far?
Huh?
Rome be too far away?
Well, you know, if they furnish me transportation to Rome, that'd be, and I can get to see him quite often, but, you know, whatever the wait, a few more months or whatever to get him back. Keep looking for a place a lot closer than Rome, because he was down there for a long time.
Well, we just need to recognize the challenges of finding a handicap-accessible home that's already existing in the communities that we're looking in, Fort Oglethorpe and others. So, Rome's going to be a lot closer than Gainesville. So, you know, if we could if we feel that we've exhausted all options in the 20-mile radius, then everybody just needs to be aware that to get Joe on the western side of the state, we're just going to have to look a little broader. The Dalton area, the Rome area, such as that. So, you know, we'll continue, or Lookout Mountain will continue to look, but as Adam said, we don't want this to just drag on and on. And 30 miles may be further than 20, but it's better than the 90 or so over to Gainesville. So, Michael, if you will put whatever emphasis to whoever's looking for a house, to put out an advertisement to real estate agencies or whatever, just go ahead and write the specifications of the house, you know, 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, whatever it is, handicap accessible, and see what kind of interest there is. And we will have to make a decision soon about looking elsewhere.
I have a question. Margaret, in terms of looking for this place for Joe, does it have to be a freestanding house, or could it be an accessible apartment that's close to you?
It could be an acceptable apartment.
Well, let me just say here is that from Lookout Mountain standpoint, we want the home to be licensed, because we're taking a great risk that is the reason that we're seeking a license, from the state, so someone can oversee what we're doing. We do not want there to be any risk involved with us just going out and getting an apartment and then trying to staff that apartment and us not having any regulations backing us.
Okay, so the apartment scenario would be prohibitive as far as licensure goes.
Well, I'm not saying that it would, but right now we feel that the community living arrangement license is the best option for us to go for.
All right,
And
that
I'm not saying
licensure
that
calls. Go ahead.
I'm not familiar enough with these. I've never been involved with obtaining this type of license before, but it would seem that a home would be more conducive to this type of license than an apartment.
Could I say something? They do have apartments here in Lafayette for handicapped people and people with Down syndrome and stuff like that over here in the city of Lafayette, going south on Broomtown Road. And I know several people that's went over there. I know
Yes, ma'am, but Joe is not eligible for those apartments because he doesn't have a developmentally disabled diagnosis. Those apartments are exclusively for individuals that have that diagnosis.
This is Tom. I've been listening for a while. Part of the problem is that Joe is going to require staffing that's going to require a higher level of support than what you could provide in an apartment.
Folks, this is Charles Fedner again. I've got to get off the call, and we'll schedule a call again for next Monday at 1 o'clock. And y'all are welcome to stay on the conference call and any other topics you want to bring up. But at this point, Michael and Dr. Ford, if y'all will just very aggressively look for and put out feelers for what it is that we believe Joe needs to be met through. And we'll get an update next week.
Okay.
All right, I'm off.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes.
So my question would be, since there's concern about going through all the renovation and then maybe not even getting licensed, we're talking to some state folks with you and Mr. Fetner. There's got to be some sort of relationship or somebody we can reach out to bring into this call to make sure that we're not running down a path and then all of a sudden for some reason we can't get a license. I mean, that's a valid concern, but you would think, given the level of participation in this conference call, that maybe that's a group we need to rope in. I mean, I just can't imagine we can't start to address some of these barriers from.
I can't imagine that if we followed the guidelines that they would not license a home. I think it's just a formality. Do they have a guarantee? The licensure unit is the Department of Community Health. It is a totally different agency. Housing and Regulatory Facilities, the HFR part of Department of Community Health. Those staff that are few and far between, Adam, I'll be honest, are not going to be on the call. There's 4 for the whole state to license, and they're in the field almost 100% of their time trying to keep up with all the facilities that need to be licensed. But again, I don't think that it's a problem in getting a CLA license if we followed their guidelines. I mean, and I don't think Tom and them feel it's going to be a problem. It's just a matter of going through the process, and you don't have a guarantee until they walk out the door and say, yes, here it is.
Okay. Well, from just my opinion, this renovation of this property that just doesn't sound like a viable option. I mean,
It's a time-consuming option and an expensive option. It would be nicer if we found a house that was much more move-in ready and did not require the time it would take.
Well, I mean, even if you had to provide transportation for the visits, that'd be a better case scenario a little bit farther, provide transportation, then do the renovation and extend this out that much longer. Those are just my opinions. I'm not directly involved in the case. I'm just offering up my opinions, and y'all feel free to say that Adam doesn't know what he's talking about because he's not doing this, and that's perfectly fine.
No, I certainly agree that if we can look in the Rome and the Dalton areas, which are much larger areas, there's going to be many, many more options available.
So, Ms. Hawkins, go ahead.
I was going to ask Tom and Michael, are y'all both going to be in our office on Thursday?
Tom is, I wasn't planning on coming, but
Okay.
But I'll be there, Debbie.
Maybe we can talk and we can put Michael on the phone if he's available. If not, we can start a conversation and let's pull out the regs, or you can bring them with you, and let's see how creative we can get together to finding what will meet the requirements for close proximity for Ms. Margaret, but also to meet the requirements for the CLA license, because there might be some options that we haven't considered, whether it be a certain type of apartment or a duplex or something like that that would comply with the CLA license.
You do that.
Okay. I won't be here first thing in the morning, but I will be back as soon as lunch is over. I have a meeting downtown. So let's commit to doing that. You and I can meet. Mr. Fettner will be here that afternoon, and we can try and get some headway so we'll have something more to report next Monday.
Okay. That'll be fine.
And Ms. Hawkins, this is Adam again. If you will at least think about, pray about, consider, sleep on it, broadening that geographical location just a little bit with some sort of a plan for helping you with some transportation. I just think that's going to be it sounds like maybe a more realistic option, and we can move on this a little bit quicker, because the longer this takes, the longer y'all have this separation, and Joe's in the nursing home. So if you wouldn't mind, just think about it, talk about it with your family, and at least consider it.
Well, I believe in miracles. And I believe whatever's to be is going to be, one way or the other.
Yes, ma'am.
And whatever's best for Joe, there's a higher power that's really been watching over him. And he's in control. And I'm really not worried about it, because I know everything is going to really fall into place when the time comes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like I told the doctors when he was so close to death last year. I said, my son ain't going nowhere, because I know who's in control of our life and our death. And none of us has no guarantee we'll be around the next minute, or even tomorrow. I live one day and 1 minute at a time.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything that we need to add for today's call? So the nursing home's going to keep us abreast. If anything goes on, you're going to reach out to Benchmark. If any assistance needed for behaviors, Lookout Mountain is going to continue to pursue community living arrangement. Tom and I are going to meet this Thursday and see what we need to do to see if there's any creative options, and then we're going to meet back with updates on Monday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
yes.
All right. Thank you all very much, and I will talk to you Monday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.